Michael Knowles absolutely destroys our favorite View host, Joy Behar, in an epic rant. This came about after Joy Behar went unhinged, totally anti-Second Amendment. We all know we don't like that, folks. We really don't. And, you know, what's fascinating about this is they always pretend like, oh, you know, we're not against stripping you away of your constitutional rights. It's, we just want to get the big scary rifles away, the AR-15s, you know, the big evil machine guns. Well, nonsense. Hogwash. It's anti-Second Amendment. I know it, you know it, and Michael Knowles certainly knows it himself. So, guys, it's going to be a fun one. You're really going to like it. I know I did. So, we're going to get right into it. But first, everybody, yes, it's that time of day again. Please be sure to like our video, share it around, and subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel if you are new. And if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back, guys. We really appreciate you, and we are going to have more great videos to come. As always, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the show.
The View, the ladies of The View, have an important lesson to teach you about the power of the AR-15 and its uses in hunting.
I would love to see an assault weapons ban. Like President Reagan, I don't believe they're a sport or hunting instrument. It's like shooting fish in a bucket, but that's my take.
But also, if you shoot with an AR-15, let's say you shoot a deer, you can't eat it. Right. Because you basically demolish
In addition
the
to that, but the hunt is about an actual difficult process, not massacring bodies of any kind. But my point is, I'd love to see that.
Joy Behar seems to be confusing an AR-15 with a rocket launcher. she seems to be confusing an AR-15 with a landmine that would just explode the deer. Ironically, she's somewhat correct in what she said. She said, if you shoot a deer with an AR-15, you won't be able to eat it. And that might be true because the deer might get away because the AR-15 round, the .223, is probably too weak to, at least to humanely hunt deer. And actually, certain places have restrictions on the AR-15 for hunting deer for precisely that reason. Not because it's going to explode the deer, not because it's, I don't know, it's like a heat-seeking missile that just explodes and splatters venison all over the place. But
it's quite clear that these ladies at The View hate the Second Amendment. They just don't like it at all, and they don't care for it, even if they pretend otherwise. You know who else hates the Second Amendment, and apparently the American economy? Joe Biden. Look at this Bidenflation, guys. It's out of control, okay? And that's why I've decided to partner with Goldco. Why do this? Real simple, guys. As the US dollar has declined in value over time, the value of the gold has gone up. Precious metals, in my opinion, are where it's at, guys. So if you're at all interested, I have some good news for you. You can roll over your IRA or 401k penalty and tax free with Goldco. Yes, that's not a joke. So head on over to rtmgold.com and get your free gold kit today so you can learn more. Once again, that's rtmgold.com. Type it in your web browser or go to the link in the description.
And splatters venison all over the place, but because it's a little weak. It's a lot weaker than these people think. They have no idea, which gets to what I think is beneath a lot of the political dysfunction that we have right now.
I always find it funny when many of them will pretend they're in favor of the Second Amendment, but say, but just not the big scary guns I don't like. That seems to be the view that's being communicated by The View right now, because whenever somebody tries to push back against them and say, hey, that's anti-Second Amendment, they say, no, I support the Second Amendment. But I don't believe we should have assault rifles, for example. By the way, they don't even know what assault rifle means. That's a fully automatic rifle. AR-15s are semi-automatic, like just about every gun in America, bar revolvers, shotguns, and a few other exceptions. Speaking of shotguns, you notice how they're never complaining about that? Why not? Unlike an AR-15, a shotgun can actually tear a deer apart. Yet, there are no complaints from The View. It's almost as if they're completely ignorant on the subject and just don't know what they're talking about. By the way, guys, you remember that video of the AR-15 shooting a watermelon?
This video used to shoot a watermelon using an AR-15.
As I'm sure you guys realize, that is clearly not an AR-15. It's a shotgun. But these goons at NBC clearly were not intelligent enough or well educated enough or well researched to figure that out. Last point here on the whole big scary rifle should be banned, and that's not anti-Second Amendment according to the left. How about a pistol? All right, look at the Glock 19. It's one of the most common pistols in America. It holds 15 rounds in a magazine, 16 total if you have one in the chamber. That's an extremely powerful weapon, okay? And if you look at, unfortunately, recent mass shootings we've had in American history, some of them have been carried out with people who are holding one or more pistols in their hands. Guess what? A gun's a gun. It kills people. This whole idea that, well, some guns are too much power and the other ones are less power, so they're okay. That's not how it works. Use a gun to kill, whether it's for a malicious intent or for self-defense. That's the purpose, and any statement to the contrary is completely and utterly delusional.
Right now, which is not just evil ideology or the tolerance and encouragement of vice and sin, all of which contribute to our political problems. But the problem of blithe ignorance, the fact that people are just so casually, happily indifferent to knowledge and the truth and skill, it's astounding. You can't run a society on bad ideology. It's not going to work out in the end. You also can't just run a society on ideology. You need to possess some degree of technical knowledge and competence to run a society. It's not enough just to read Karl Marx or just to read Edmund Burke or Aristotle, for that matter. You also need to know how to do plumbing. You also need to know how to grow food. You also need to know how to perform the basic functions of a society. And a society that doesn't know how guns work, a society that doesn't know how human beings relate to animals, certainly as it regards food production, that society is not going to do well. And you add on.
It's a great point. By the way, guys, if you're into this whole off-the-grid house thing, growing your own food, that kind of thing, I know I am. I think it's super cool. And the idea of not being dependent on government or corporations is a great thing. I highly recommend you check out the podcast between Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey that aired maybe about a month ago. Really interesting stuff. To give you a sneak peek of it, Thomas Massey has his own house that's completely off the grid of government services, has its own food growing, animals, everything. It's really neat.
On top of that, bizarre ideologies. Well, I guess actually the blithe ignorance is a consequence of the ideological age, which tells people that when they go to school, they don't need to learn anything real or substantive. They can just read a bunch of theories disconnected from reality. They can just major in gender studies, to use an oft-cited example, and that will prepare them for life. It will not
critical race
do
theory.
so.
And this is true. Let's also not forget critical race theory, which maybe is just slightly more intellectual than underwater basket weaving. Well, guys, with all that said, we really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, guys, please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you like, what you want to see next. And if you have any stories about any crazy leftists that you debated about on guns, tell us what they said. Share it in the comments below. Thank you all so much, and God bless.